Hello, Abnormal Investigations. It's good to see everybody. I've got another encounter for you. I hope you all are enjoying the boots on the ground, and let me know if you like the new background scenery, if you like it better than the one that I've been using. Let's jump into this encounter. During the height of the pandemic in 2020, my husband and I built our home in a sleepy seaside town. The land itself has a history and was formerly used as farmland and mango plantation many decades ago. The land has been in my husband's family for a while, and even though the lot is huge, not one family member has decided to use it until we came along. The story goes a little like this. My husband's grandfather paid a hefty price for such land. His relationship with his siblings, apparently, they fought over ownership of the land, and while my husband's grandfather successfully inherited it before he passed away, it came with a lot of heartache, tears, and lost relationships along the way. His purpose has always been to pass down the lot to his children and grandchildren for future use. Due to this, my husband's relatives refused to sell the respective lots for profit, believing that their grandfather's soul would be unresting, knowing that the land had been lost and was no longer part of the family. While some relatives have decided to sell their shares today, this was not the case only for a few years back. The entire lot is quite sizable, about 4,000 square meters. Our lot itself is not as grand, at around 400 square meters. On top of it, we built a modest duplex with a porch. To build this house, we had to have a few trees cut down to make way for the foundations and for the walls. In the Philippines, we believe that creatures dwell in the trees like the kapre, the octa, and the duenda. Although we do not necessarily believe the existence of these beings, we still respect their superstitious beliefs as part of the Filipino culture and tradition. Before cutting off trees, Filipinos have their rituals to ensure that we do not unknowingly cut down trees where supernatural beings may be living. Before cutting down a tree, a person strikes the trunk with an axe. It's believed that if the axe sticks to the trunk, you are allowed to cut it down. And if the axe falls to the ground or does not stick to the trunk, the creature may be living inside it. When it's the latter, we bring offerings of food to the tree to respectfully ask permission from the creature to let us cut down the tree. We hired an experienced contractor to do the job, and he usually performs this on all construction projects. He manages the ritual, is almost an unspoken rule among Filipinos, and is commonly accepted practice in rural and modern areas. People just go along with it as something that's part of the way we live, part of our heritage, part of what goes on, regardless if you believe it or not. What's the harm in complying, right? I would disagree. Some of this is driven by fear, as there are instances when trees are cut down and construction crew members die unexpectedly, or businesses' bad luck are attributed to the place being cursed or haunted from angering a spirit or an evil entity. Anyways, we had a couple of trees cut down, some believed to be as old as my husband's grandfather. The construction of the house was completed and we moved in only a few months later. The house is situated near the center of the lot, which means to get there you need to drive up a few meters on the makeshift gravel path connected to the back road. This makeshift path is surrounded by dense bushes, grass, and trees. You make a sharp turn where your vision is clouded by tall trees and bushes and suddenly see a house in the distance. We had an electricity company make a connection for us in our area. It is quite remote and there are no light posts, or it's all private property. So when night falls, it's eerily dark and quiet. When people asked us where we lived, we took no joke to find our house. We said, you'll have trouble finding it. It's almost like a getaway to Narnia. When we had packages delivered, delivery people usually got lost or simply refused to enter the path when it was nighttime. A few months into living in the house, we've had a few strange occurrences here and there, which is to be expected when you're living in a rural area surrounded by more trees and wildlife than people. Living near the sea in a tropical country means sweltering hot temperatures and high humidity levels. It was one of those long dry spells where you're constantly drenched in sweat when this happened. In the late afternoon, my husband and I are in the living room with the windows open. It was quickly approaching dusk as we went through our yoga practice. Our two cats were lounging in the furniture, lazily watching us. We were using a YouTube video to guide us of our practice, and when the video ended, I vividly recall saying I wanted to do another yoga video, to which my husband reluctantly agreed. He reasoned it was getting dark and we had to prepare supper. Plus, the weather seemed unusually cool today, which meant it got dark much quicker. I realized that was true after another sweltering hot day. The wind seemed to pick up in the late afternoon as I looked for another yoga video. However, the wind seemed to die down like how it goes, quiet before the storm, right? Or the first drops of rain. As we were sitting down on our yoga mats at dusk, we saw a neat lightning bolt strike the sky. The lightning was clear against the dark sky, and it was so bright it made me almost squint. Only a few seconds later, we heard a loud crashing sound. The thunder was so deafening that the house shook. Our window panes certainly shook, and we felt the thunder and the lightning. It was alarmingly close to the house, as you could almost feel the electricity in the sky. Specifically near a big tree by the window where we can sometimes feel the presence there, watching us at night. We have always said that about that tree. This was so sudden and so ear-piercing in our quiet home in the middle of nowhere that we simply froze in place. It really didn't help that when the thunder struck, the power suddenly went out. We were enveloped in a darkness. My skin broke in goosebumps. For a moment, I was gripped in the fear, unable to move or think of what to do next. I could hear 2 cats scrambling, looking for hiding places in the dark. My heart beat fast in my chest as I blindly looked around the living room, waiting for my eyes to adjust and my heart to steady itself. I remember instinctively scrambling near me, trying to feel for my phone, so I could turn on the flashlight. Just as my vision started to adjust and sharpen, I noticed a black silhouette sitting right in front of me. My husband had his yoga mat beside me, so that we were facing each other, sitting down before the power had went out. In a shaky voice, I said into the darkness, "Love?" He didn't answer. The wind howled. It continued to howl, passing through our open windows and causing the air to almost shake the house. I couldn't hear the rustling of the trees, the brushing outside. I tried again. "Love, love, are you there?" When my husband did not answer me, I reached out to him with my right hand, just as another flash of lightning struck near the window, causing a temporary bright streak of light to flash through the living room. In a split second, the room was illuminated by an eerie glow, and as my eyes adjusted again, I saw in complete disbelief that there was no one in front of me. At this very moment, my hands gripped nothing but air. The light came and went, and again we were shrouded in the darkness. I took back my outstretched hand as I was struck with the paralyzing fear as another loud thunder shook the house. At that moment, I felt myself shrink, like somehow the 4 corners of the house, they seemed to impossibly huge, and I was just a tiny thing on the ground. My heart sunk into my stomach, and I felt something else, another presence in the house. But it was different this time. Not the usual feeling I had when I sensed another presence in the woods or by the mysterious tree near the window. I felt like something had shifted when the energy from the thunder and lightning struck our home. Like a door had been opened, and there were these things I could not put a name to enter the space. Their magnitude and presence so profound that I was in an insignificant living thing that was simply taking up their space. I was hit with a type of primal fear that causes you to shut down, where all logic just leaves your body. I had never in my life felt that kind of fear. This was different somehow, like my insides were screaming at me to run, but my body refused to get in sync. I was running on intuition, and my intuition told me to look for a light, any kind of light source. I forced my legs to move, and I was in the middle of standing up when a small beam of light hit the yoga mats. It was my husband standing near our bedroom door holding a flashlight in his hand. We immediately ran to each other and then found our way to the electrical box to turn off the electricity to prevent damaging surges. At this point, the first few drops of rain started to pour down before gaining traction. We calmed ourselves and took out the emergency candles and lights we had stored. We found our 2 cats, both of them with their hairs on end, shrinking into a corner, just two chunky poof balls with wide, terrified eyes. The power eventually returned during the night, and we spoke of the event. Without verbally agreeing, we each always made sure to keep a light in each room on at night, and stored backup candles and emergency batteries in case a sudden storm and power outages were to shake our home again. The first time we let our thoughts on this experience out, people didn't believe us. We wasn't even sure what had really happened. But my husband told me while he was in the bedroom looking for a flashlight, he was surrounded by shadows that were reaching out to him. One even said, "Take my hand and I'll show you the way." We were freaked out really bad by this, and honestly, we're deciding if we're going to stay here or if we're going to move back to the States. We have 3 months to make that decision, and we're not sure yet what we're going to do. What would you all do if you was us? This was very, very scary. Thank you for sharing our story, Mike. Proud watcher in the Philippines. I'm glad to have you watching from the Philippines. If that stuff's going on, I would get a preacher. I would bless the home. If that didn't get rid of it, and you got a lot of bad things going around you, a lot of superstitious stuff happening around you, a lot of superstitions, a lot of people believing in that stuff and practicing that stuff, it may be really hard to keep it gone. You can get rid of it, but if people keep bringing it back, I think you're going to keep battling it, and I think that's something you all need to probably discuss. Thank you all for listening, guys. Until next time, keep your head on a swivel. Don't be something's dinner. We'll see you on the next one, and if you don't mind, smash that like button, guys. It sure helps us with all the mass reporting going on. It helps us get past it, so the likes do matter. Thank you very much.